straight up on the East Coast. It is indeed a Thursday edition of Middays with Q. Coming at you, powered by our wonderful friends over at Triax57, live right now on Triax57.com, as well as their Facebook page. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock, 2 hours to play with. We're going to open it up early. A lot to get into on this Thursday, the 19th of June, 2025. And we always want you guys, we encourage you guys to get in on the conversation. NBA Finals, Game 6, OKC, again, with an opportunity to close it out tonight. I mean, and I'm telling you right now, you've got a situation where if you're the OKC Thunder, you want to close the deal. You want to close it out tonight. And that would be something, would it not? That would be absolutely something. I mean, think about that. It would be absolutely something if they were able to go in there, get the job done, close it out tonight, and win a championship over the Indiana Pacers. So we've got that we're going to get into on this Thursday. We've got a lot of baseball to dive into. That's always, the hot topic, right? Baseball, what teams are struggling, what teams are not struggling. We're going to run through the gamut of everything on this day. So as I mentioned, there's a lot that we want to really dissect. We really want to get into. So we appreciate you guys just kind of keeping us locked in for the next 2 hours. And as what we typically do is we like to open it up early and often and get you guys in on the conversation. So with that being said, we will start with a little bit of the NBA. We'll start with a little of the NBA on this day because I'm looking at this from a couple standpoints. I'm looking at this like a couple standpoints. I'm saying to myself that the OKC Thunder are a team, and if you think about it, they're a team that's in. Well, they were in transition, right? They were in transition, and now you've got that rebuild and it's almost done and they're ready to go and they're a win away from clinching a championship. And that's very hard to do. It's very hard to do. So I look at what they've been able to do and I say it's fascinating and I give them all the credit in the world. Then you look at a situation with the Indiana Pacers, and this is a team that I think exceeded expectations, if that makes sense. I think they exceeded expectations. I think they made a run and people were looking at them and saying, you know what, this is a good team. It's not a great team, but they're fun to watch. And we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt, make it a series. And they've tried to hang in there. And ultimately, OKC is just a better team. So we're going to get your thoughts on the game tonight to close out. As I mentioned, we have a substantial amount of baseball to get into because right now you got a couple teams that are struggling mightily. You have a couple teams that are struggling big time, and two of them, New York Mets, New York Yankees. They're both really having a hard time, a hard go of it right now. Again, the Phillies, now you've got a situation with the Phillies right now. They're trying to pick up a little bit of steam, a little bit of momentum, right? Phillies are trying to pick up a little bit of the momentum. And if you think about this from this standpoint, this is a team that, again, you're trying to figure out what team is this, right? What team is going to show up? That's the question. Like, what team is going to show up if you're the Philadelphia Phillies? You talk about the pitching, you talk about the hitting, you talk about the lack of hitting, you talk about the lack of pitching at times. So it's been a mixed bag if you're a Phillies fan. It's been a mixed bag if you're a Phillies fan. I think this team right now, I think they're underachieving. I really do. I look at this team and I get it. They picked up a win. It is what it is. I would not get too excited. I'll give you some updates with the Phillies in a moment. But as I mentioned, I would not, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying to myself, let's not get carried away. Let's not get carried away with the Philadelphia Phillies at this moment because I don't think they're a very good team. And we're going to dive into that as well. Lloyd Vance around 5:30. So we've got a lot of moving parts on this day. We have a lot of moving parts on this Thursday. We're going to try to work out a couple kinks with our good friends with Triax57. We're actually going to take quick time out. We're going to open it up. You guys are going to be able to get me on the Facebook page as well. Keep it locked in. Do not go anywhere. Quick time out. We'll get things situated. We'll come back on the other side and we'll open it up as we typically do on this Thursday edition of the Thursday edition of Middays with Q. A lot of comments already. Actually, some of the carryover from the remnants of yesterday's conversation. We're going to get into that with the Caitlin Clark, the Henry Ruggs. I want to get into that conversation as well. You got the NBA Finals. You got baseball. Lloyd Vance at 5:30. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. All right, so that's kind of funny. What's happening? I don't know if it's the weather. There's always something, right? We always talk about this. There's always something going on. So we'll welcome you back. I know we're supposed to get hit with some storms, so we just had to rebuffer real quick. We apologize for that. I know there might be an issue. We are on Triax57's Facebook page, but I linked it from my YouTube channel. So again, you guys should be able to get me in that YouTube link. We want to keep you guys engaged as well. So with that being said, let's refresh the table, as we like to say in the business. There's no issue with the mic. It hasn't been the mic. It wasn't the mic. It's the streaming. Sometimes the software, it's got to reboot up, right? It's got to reboot up. So Man will start us off as he typically does. Banker hours. Now, we fired off at 4. We're going to 6. It's not the mic. It's never been the mic. Leave the mic alone, period. I don't know what to tell you on that one, guys. I really don't. Sometimes it was like a very it was like a hit or miss. It was like a very hit or miss kind of situation right there. So we'll try to remedy that. We'll try to figure out what's going on, and we'll work through it. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm going to get to some of your comments as well. No one is picking out the wardrobe. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Hold on, guys. We're going to get to some of your comments. All right, so we'll open it up, as I mentioned. NBA Finals, Game 6. OKC, they're laying about 6.5, 7. Again, I'm telling you right now, I think this might be an issue where they run them out of the building tonight. I think it's pretty much all she wrote for the Indiana Pacers. You look at SGA, you look at how they've been able to kind of get up and down the floor playing both sides of the ball. Now that line's dropped a little bit. It's in at 5.5. Even though OKC goes on the road, they've been dominant this series. They really have. I mean, think about it. They lose game 1. They shouldn't have lost game 1. And they're pretty much flexing their muscle. They really are. Everyone can sit there and we want to go back to a couple games ago, right? That's what everyone wants to talk about. Friday's game, you lose 111, 104. Thunder pull away. They win by 7. Friday, you just saw Thunder. They flexed their muscle in that game, right? And then, of course, Monday, that game wasn't even close. They went by 11. They put up, 34-35 in the fourth. They had a big first quarter to start things off. They put a lot of pressure on Indiana in that first quarter as they led them by 10. But I think this is kind of the coming out party for the Thunder this evening, and they're just too good, whether it's Alexander, whether it's SGA, whether it is Williams, whether it's Holmgren. They've got scores all over the place. They're a really good and balanced team. And I'm telling you, I think this game is not even going to be relatively close tonight. De facto leader of Bunker Boys, I figure it was picking out your wardrobe more formal this week. That's again, you have to play the part, right? You got to clean it up. Oh my goodness. That is NIL at its worst. Name, image, likeness. 100%, man. 100%. 100%. Yeah, so we will be streaming going forward on Triax57. I put the link for those on their Facebook page if you guys want to tune in right now. If you guys want to tune in right now. So that'll keep you busy for the next couple hours as well as some of these very, let's say, how do I say this? Be breaking comments. What do we got here? OKC is going to stomp Indy tonight. Yeah, I think this is at least 15 points, 15, 16 points. I think I think the Pacers will try to keep it close going in the locker room. You'll start to see OKC pull away in the third. Indiana makes that run, and then all of a sudden, you get a couple turnovers, shots not falling for Halliburton, Turner's in foul trouble, Siakam shots not going, and boom, they start to pull away. And it's really, I guess it's, you can almost say, inevitable, right? Hence the question of the day: do the Thunder close out the Pacers tonight? And I like them by at least double digits. I like them by at least double digits. I feel as though the Stanley Cup Finals, I know I keep reverting back to this, but I feel the Stanley Cup Finals had so much more juice than these NBA Finals. The ratings stink. The Stanley Cup Finals had good ratings because those games were competitive. You had storylines, you had overtime games. So there were a lot of thrilling games to watch. You just got your fill. And a lot of times you sit here and, man, I'll tell you, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. We're waiting. We're waiting to see, is this going to be an all-time series? Are we going to get let down? No one expected this series between Indiana and OKC to be a juggernaut of a series. Nobody did. I mean, if you did, you're lying to yourself. You're absolutely lying to yourself. Nobody had this expectation that, oh my God, back up the bus here. These guys, this is going to be an unbelievable series. No, it's got no juice. It's got no allure. It just doesn't. It just really doesn't. And whether you guys want to sit there or I want to sit there or we want to sit there and say that the product is bad, then that's fine. And I can live with that. But I just think you got two markets that are not sexy at all. You got two markets that are not sexy at all. You got the Indiana market and you got OKC. And no one really is caring about those markets. And it's unfortunate because, you've got a little bit of star power, especially with OKC and SGA. Halliburton's not that star. He's just not that star. He's not. So you got NBA Finals, as I mentioned. You got some baseball cooking right now. And the Yankees, the Mets, they are struggling mightily. I think the Phillies, the Phillies get the win last night. They doubled up the Marlins 4-2. By the way, Yankees are actually up right now as we speak in the eighth against the Angels, 6-3, trying to snap their bad, yucky slide and losing streak. But I mentioned the Philadelphia Phillies. They've got the Marlins tonight. Sanchez goes on the hill. He's pitched really well to about 3.1, 3.01 ERA. He's pitched really well this season, 6-2. Suarez has pitched well. Luzardo, started off strong, little hit or miss. Wheeler's Wheeler. Nolar's banged up, fine. I think this team is beyond underachieving. I really do. And even though they're a game back of the New York Mets in the NL East, I still believe that this team, the way it's presently constructed, they are really underachieving. They really are. For the money that they paid these players, the contracts that they gave some of these players, for them to go out and play the way they're playing, again, I'm not suggesting it's going to cost the manager his job. I'm not saying that at all. But you go back to last season and you had 3 or 4 players that really, for what they were getting paid and the expectation, they were beyond underachieving, whether it was going to be Stott, whether it was going to be Walker, whether it was going to be Brandon Marsh. This year, yesterday we talked a little bit about Castellanos being benched and how everyone was so worked up over that. Are you really going to tell me that move by the Phillies has paid off? Seriously. He's been with the Philadelphia Phillies for 6 seasons. Look at his OPS. Look at the money that they gave him. Just go look. His 6 seasons before he was with the Phillies, his OPS was .853, 853, .853. Got him a $100 million contract. His OPS with the Phillies is .745. His OPS this season is .750. So to me, that reeks of a massive underachiever. We're still waiting for Harper to lead this team to the World Series and win it. Turner has been a mixed bag. I mean, what was it, 2 seasons ago? The fans had to actually applaud Turner, if he actually put the ball in play. Right now, this guy stinks. Like, what happened to him? He was a stud when he was with Washington. He was a stud with the Dodgers. He cashed in. He's got 8 home runs, 9 home runs. His batting average is okay, but I'm not going to sit there and say he's worth the price of admission right now if I'm the Phillies. So from top to bottom, this team is underachieving. The Yankees are grossly underachieving. The Mets are underachieving. You're talking about 3 teams in baseball that many predicted, especially in the NL, would maybe vie for the NL championship, the NLCS, or maybe have an opportunity to get back to the World Series. And right now, I'm looking at this Mets squad. They lost 5 in a row. I'm looking at this Philly squad. A little bit of life, 7-3 over their last 10, but very hit or miss. I'm looking at this Yankees team right now. 4 straight losses. 3 of them were shutouts. You dropped 6 overall. Now you're trying to stop that skid against a bad Angels team. You're 3-7 in your last 10. You get base blunders and, just bad defensive plays and swinging at bad pitches and guys not performing and pitching not holding up to snuff. And, your offense that you just basically, you paid these guys so much money. Look, Aaron Judge is your MVP. He's the best player in the game. Hands down. He's the best player in the game. The numbers are just absolutely staggering. But even Aaron Judge is immune to some booze once in a while. I mean, think about the series he's had against the Angels. Coming into today, he didn't have a hit. He was 0 for 11. So there are teams in baseball underachieving. And I look at the Phillies, and to me, they are big-time underachieving. They really are. Pacers 5-0 in Game 6s. I like that trend. Does the room agree? What you got to give me more with the trend. Like, it's a different animal. That series is over. I don't see how they win tonight. De facto, I don't. I really don't. You have to, if the Pacers have a shot tonight, they can't rely on their bench. They need their, quote, superstar, right? Because everyone, you guys have said, it's Halliburton. He's a star. He's a franchise player. They need him to show up. Now, the problem is the kid's not 100% healthy. That's the problem. So he's got every intention to play. It's Game 6. It's the NBA Finals. I know you're dealing with a calf strain. I get it. But I don't care. I don't care because if you lose tonight, your season's over. Like, there's no wiggle room here if you're Tyrese Halliburton and you're the Indiana Pacers. Now, am I going to sit there and tell you that they have to have him on the floor? I mean, sometimes the offense actually runs a little smoother with him not on the floor. He just hasn't been aggressive. The shot hasn't been falling. He hasn't had the type of series against OKC that he did against my Knicks. But, the threat of him being out there, right? I mean, he gutted it out for 34 minutes and finished with 4 points. But if you can walk, you're going to play. And he really hasn't had the signature finals moment. He just hasn't. He hasn't. He's had the signature moments against the Knicks, 20, 32, 21. Hasn't had that against OKC. I'll give him credit for trying to gut it out. But if you're going to gut it out, we talked about this yesterday. Guys like Thomas and Magic and Bird and Isaiah and Kobe, all those guys played hurt and performed at a different level. They played at a highest of high levels because that's what superstars do. Jovan chimes in, Castellanos has been one of their better outfielders. It ain't saying much. Turner is way more of an underachiever. I take Casti for what he is. Yeah, but they also paid him $100 million too, Jovan. The Turner contract was absurd too. And I get it. That's baseball. But if you look around right now, he's been bad. Yeah, Turner's been bad defensively. Nola has been disappointing and hurt. Schwarber's holding up his end of the bargain because you're not. Here's the thing, right? You know what you're getting with Schwarber. It's feast or famine. I'll add Braves and D-backs as underachievers too. So I think the Braves are definitely an underachiever. I'm not. I think the D-backs were basically your one and done. I don't like to say one hit wonder, but that's a team that, and I hate this expression and phrase, you know, exceeded expectations. I don't know how you exceed expectations. Your expectations, there's a ceiling, right? So if you look at a team like the Diamondbacks, and granted, they're buried in the NL West, but you also have the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Padres. That's a pretty stacked, right? Division. It's a pretty stacked division. So I'm not going to sit there and say, kind of, they're an underachiever. I just think they were very lucky, fortunate the run that they had. St. Louis can't figure them out. Cincinnati's rebuilding. Seattle, you can say Seattle 5.5 back right now. Houston, that's an underachieving team. But for my money, it's the three that I gave you because the Mets expected to be so much better, and they had that torrid start. Now, granted, don't get me wrong. You're talking about a team that's 15 games over 500. But here's the problem with the Mets. It's always going to revert back to who? To one player, Juan Soto. That's really it. As they live and die, it's Juan Soto. Now, I know he went 2 for 3 the other night, but then he came back and he was 0 for 4 last night. It's just, listen, you're paying Soto so much money. The expectation is you're not going to bat 248 baseball season. You're just not. That's unacceptable. It really is. You just can't have that. You really can't. Tom at Summers Point Q. I know you mentioned Sanders with the ticket the other day, but did you see the kid Edie had the ticket as well? Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it in passing. I mean, it is what it is. He got cited. Wow, he's cited twice for speeding. All right, we're going to kick him out of the league. The response I got yesterday, right? The whole talking players for what they are isn't the way to go, or taking players for what they are. Yeah, I mean, listen, do you, that's not the way you want to build the team, man. I get it. I understand that. I mentioned this the other day. We were talking about the rug stuff, and I'll get into it in a couple more moments because I posted it on TikTok, and I can't believe the response that it's gotten. The same with the Caitlin Clark stuff, right? I mean, I feel people misplace their anger and they want to push and push and push narratives. It's actually quite amusing when you think about it, right? Two sides to every story. You kind of peel back the curtain and take a step back and see for what it really is. Some people's opinions are just not going to change when it comes to certain things, and that's okay. We don't try to cram something down someone's throat in that regard. It is what it is. What you believe, you believe. I'm not here to try to make you change your opinion or sway you. I'm just trying to state my case, and counter what some of you guys have been saying. But I probably had maybe, I don't know, there's 70 something comments on the TikTok video I posted on rugs. And I want to get into that a little bit more because I was thinking about this too, prepping today. Every sport out there, there's always second chances. And the NFL is notorious for that. The NBA is notorious for that. NHL notorious for that. Baseball notorious for that. So I kind of want to keep that on the back burner today. By the way, 424, Lloyd Vance at 5:30, NFC South. We are going to get into. Tom in Summers Point chimes in. Good stuff on the WNBA queue, but I'm still not agreeing that Caitlin Clark is the quote cash cow. Hey man, like I said, protect. You watch those great, the old movies, the black and white movies, or the movies like the Roman Empire and the gladiators of the world and the 300s and movies like that, right? It's all about protecting the queen. Protecting the queen. You protect the cash cow. You protect Again, you protect the queen. And all I was saying yesterday, that it still didn't resonate or sit well with people, is that when you have a face of a franchise, a face of a league, a face of a team, and that person generates X amount of revenue, X amount of dollars, X amount of marketability and branding, you do everything in your power to protect her. When I say protect, I don't mean coddle. You're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. All I'm saying is call it even. That's it. Call it even and understand what you're dealing with. And what you're dealing with is the face of the league. Granted, there are others before her. I get it. I'm not going to keep going down that rabbit hole with some of you guys because I just feel like I'm just banging my head against the wall. But point being is, to Tom's point, protect, protect, protect. That's it. Protect, protect, protect. Well, to my point. And listen, every league is second chances. Every league is second chance. It doesn't matter. Vic got back in the NFL, right? A guy like Ray Rice, what he did was horrible. Ray Rice will never get back in the NFL. Well, that ship has sailed. But what hurt him the most, and again, please, I'm very sensitive to this, so don't misconstrue what I'm saying, is that there was a video. Now, imagine if there was a video back in the day of Vic and those dogs. Are you thinking differently? Right, that video came out, the elevator in Atlantic City, that sealed Ray Rice's fate, and deservingly so. So, from what I mentioned yesterday with Ruggs, and I want to get your thoughts on this because I want to get some of these comments. Because as I alluded to, I have to be fair here. If people disagree, they disagree. And, some people were very so. This is Oren on TikTok. Listen, and this is coming from a person who is personally in recovery. I just reached 6 months last week. We've all made mistakes. I made plenty that could have caused the loss of someone's life. Fortunately, my mistakes never dictated such a consequence. But I met plenty of people, good people along my journey who have made the same mistake he has, and they were deserving of a second chance. And then people mentioned, Dante Stallworth did the same thing, and he's playing again. Chris says, absolutely not. People make mistakes, but if it wasn't an NFL player in there, they always get off. Ruggs comes back. Dante have his contract or donate half his contract to the family. Let's see how sorry he is. Facts. See, I enjoy when people have opinions. I do. But you also have to be realistic with some of these takes. You really do. Like Henry Ruggs is not going to get back in the NFL and donate his salary. He's just not. If he does, more power to him. Like, wow, more power. That's flipping the script. But can you imagine, is Jalen Carter giving up any of his salary? Ray Lewis? I mean, you want to get into that? Dante Stallworth? I mean, the list goes on. The list can go on and on and on. I know Ray Rice was a different animal at the time because he basically wanted to play for free. That's how bad he wanted back in the NFL. But what about, all these players in baseball, right? You look at the domestic violence in baseball. Now, I have to find a situation, again, not like the Ruggs situation, but there have been so many players. I mean, the list goes on and on. You're talking about players that have been suspended for domestic violence. I mean, you can field 16 teams. Trevor Bauer, Carlos Martinez, Urias, Odubel Herrera, Osuna, Jose Torres, Mateo Cordero, Jose Reyes. Remember Jose Reyes? None of those guys are donating. They're not. No one's giving up their salary. It's like it's easy for us to sit there and tell a person or a player what to do if you're getting a second chance. It's very easy for us to sit here and say that. But how many players would actually do that? How many would actually do that, right? Kevin and Jackson chimes in. Q, do you think if Pete Rose was alive and they inducted him into the Hall of Fame, do you think he would ever turn around and give any of his winnings from gambling? No, he's not. And Pete Rose is not going to get in. Pete Rose is not going to get in. And these are Hall of Fames. They're not Hall of Moral, or Hall of Characters. So Michael comments, right? Barry Bonds, greatest baseball player in history, juice or no juice. So Michael half reading the room, but I like the comment from the corporation. Perfect example. Bonds. Bonds is not a likable player. Bonds isn't a likable guy, but he cheated. I'm not comparing what these players did that I mentioned domestic violence. I'm not comparing what Ruggs did or a Carter or allegedly or any player that's had that run in where resulted in loss of life. I'm not comparing. But what I'm saying is this. Fans are very goofy. Sports fans, they have selective memory. They really do. They forgive and forget quickly. They do. They don't hold grudges. They're not elephants. They don't remember everything. So, like a guy like Bonds, there are people that are just fanatical about Bonds and they recognize Bonds as the greatest living baseball player ever. They recognize Bonds as the home run king. Now, if you guys have listened to me over the years, I don't. I don't recognize Barry Bonds as the greatest living player, and I don't recognize Barry Bonds as the home run king. I just don't, and I never will. I never, ever, ever. To me, it's still Henry Aaron. It's still Henry Aaron. Bonds was on his way to a Hall of Fame career without juicing. But my whole point, to kind of not go too far down the beaten path with this, is that second chances. These leagues are all about second chances. Whether you believe the punishment fit the crime, whether you believe that the player should have an opportunity to have another shot, and play, these guys we're all talking about, they're not the best character guys. They're not the best character guys. And whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, domestic abuse, domestic violence, in this case, juicing, taking steroids, trying to gain that edge, those are all things that are just wrong. Not only wrong with sports, but wrong with society. But yet, when the time comes, if the player is that good and the player can contribute, what's going to happen? A team is going to sign him. And that's kind of where I was going yesterday. And I don't want to take it in a certain direction because I know things can get misconstrued. I really do. Like Derek chimes in, Rich enjoying the show way too soon to talk about the Ruggs incident. See if he gets let out first. Fedsmaker says, Q, how's this even a conversation? He doesn't deserve to be free, let alone play in a pro sport. Just Belief chimes in. He didn't just make one mistake. He made multiple mistakes, and times are different compared to when Stallworth did what he did. I don't think he feels any guilt for what he did. He feels guilty that he got thrown in jail. See, it's very hard for me to sit there and tell you, or any of us to say what another person is feeling. We just don't know. We don't know. We don't. Again, imagine being in a car accident, right? And there's a loss of life, and you have to live with that the rest of your life. Seriously. That's the guilt. Like, that's punishment enough. Yeah, you should go to jail. Society dictates that. You broke the law. You took someone's life. You should be held accountable. It's a combination of name and incident. The bigger they both are, the less people forget. It's bingo. Bingo. It's a great point. There are boatloads of horrible acts of humanity in the NFL and the NBA that are reported and forgotten because they are essentially nobody. It's a great point. You nailed it. You nailed it. Because we don't want to talk about it. We sweep it under the rug. I mean, you can field friggin' teams with some of the nonsense that we've seen. You can. You can field teams with some of the nonsense. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. But as sports fans, as crazy as it sounds, you will turn around, and if they sign that guy and he contributes to your team, you're going to forget. You're going to forget. As soon as Michael Vick threw a touchdown pass, that's it. No one remembered. I mean, that's how sad it is, right? That's how sad it is. All right, a lot of comments coming in. on Facebook. You guys keep them rolling in as well. 35 past 4 o'clock hour. Lloyd Vance will join me at 5:30 today. Typically 5:05. He's going to jump on board at 5:30. We're going to go NFC South. We'll look at some of the win totals. I'm also going to throw this out there as we'll continue with the conversation. Yes, I do remember that. Yep. There are so many stories about that. There are so many wow, man, that is just, what was that? She was what, 21, 22? That poor kid. Horrible. She died in the dorm room. Horrible. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I know there was a doc on that. I can't watch that. I don't want to watch that. But to your point, yes, everything. Lloyd is not, hold on a second. Lloyd is not, okay. Lloyd had to shuffle some things around. Lloyd will typically be hopefully 5:05. There's no banker hours with Lloyd. None. There's no banker hours. And I see already KC, Kevin Sarge chiming in, recognizing they want to know what color is that. It's an off baby blue shirt today. Off baby blue. That's what we tried. We wanted to go with the off baby blue. Some might sit there and say, hey, Carolina colors, but Lloyd will join us at 5:30. She stood up for someone, was about to get expelled by Stanford, so she committed suicide. And she got bullied. If you remember, she got bullied. She felt there was no way out. Yep. And I think her family filed a wrongful death suit against Stanford. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did she write a letter too? I mean, I know she got all these discipline. They bullied her. They bullied her is what they did. Yeah. I mean, you try to do the decent thing, right? You try to do the decent thing, but it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. We'll take you up to 4:35. We'll get to some of your comments on the other side. I want to take a quick time out. Got a couple questions I want to throw out there, NFL-wise. Also, your thoughts on Game 6 tonight. You've got some baseball on the docket as well. You guys are asking me about this, Stephen A. stuff with Memphis and all this stuff. I don't care. I mean, solitary Stephen A. he's got, you just hope that he watches the game tonight. You just hope. You hope he watches the game tonight and he goes on TV tomorrow and he knows what he's talking about, instead of playing solitaire, right? Solitaire Stephen A. SAS. All right, we'll take you up to a 6. Keep it locked in. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. We will indeed reset the table as we typically do. A couple of football thoughts to ponder, which we will get into as well on the other side.
Hi, I'm Bruce Pascoe. I'm very fortunate. Years ago, I found something that I genuinely like to do, and it's something that helps other people. What I do is help people transition from traditional health insurance into Medicare. I've been doing it here in Atlantic County for more than 20 years. If you're getting ready for Medicare, call me for a free consultation. 609-484-9800.
What the Down Beach Seafood Fest is all about. It's about community, it's about friends, it's about culture, right? The food culture in Atlantic County is rich.
Nothing gets by you guys on this Thursday. 4:40. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock. Rich Quinones here, Middays with Q. We posted the link on the Triax57 Facebook page. We will be live with them tomorrow from 4 to 6 on a What the Frig Friday YouTube channel, X as well. Let's get to some of these messages and see what you guys have to say out there. Looks like you came straight from a corporate boardroom meeting. Very busy Thursday, man. Very, very, as we like to say, TCB. That would be taking care of business. And I'm wondering, I had a couple people asked me this yesterday about, the corporation. They're like, who are these guys? The corporation, like they're coming out of the woodwork, right? I mean, there was the de facto bunker boys, there was the original bunker boys, now this corporation. And as I mentioned on the air yesterday, I feel as though the corporation, it's a unique, select group of sports individuals, right? Or I should say individuals that are extremely well-rounded, that bring a lot to the table, right? Whether it's the sports takes, the opinions, the hot takes, the C team references, the Malibu references, the parking meters in Florida references, the movie references, and everyone wanted to know. They're like, well, these guys are kind of taking over the show. And I said, no one takes over the show, right? I'm the host. I control. This is what we do. But we allow the commenters to have input. We want you guys to engage, and we enjoy it. The banter, we go back and forth. Sarge in Delaware chime in. And Q, I think it's apples and oranges when you're comparing some of these athletes to Ruggs. Let them get out of jail first. And I listened to what you were saying about Florio, and I wholeheartedly disagree. I understand what Mike Florio's saying. If this kid's out there, it's only going to add pain to the family. Yeah, but you're asking someone but again, you're telling someone, don't pursue something. Don't pursue something. And that's not fair. Yeah, we can sit there and be on the high horse and scream on the mountaintop and be the old man again, turn around, and we can say, hey, get off the lawn, get off the porch. He doesn't deserve a second shot. But as I mentioned, and Sarge, I appreciate you tuning in, pal. As I mentioned, guys have gotten second chances before. They have gotten second chances before. They have. First Lady in Claymont chimes in. Q, absolutely no way in hell he should get a shot to play back in the NFL. Case closed. All right. That's your opinion, and you are entitled to your opinion. And I appreciate that. All right, football. So let me throw out a couple things for you guys today. What do we got here? Corporation has every sport around the world covered. Pretzel cutting for every side weight. That was something I learned last week too. That was really good. It has been a very corporate show this week. So I went back, and by the way, Angel's not available today. So I don't know if Angel's going to be able to jump on tomorrow. But I told Angel there's a little bit of controversy brewing. The fact that there are some that tune in that feel as though the comments are too heavily policed. Now, you know me. I'm all about the opinion. I'm all about the thought, the hot take. Here we go. Give me whatever you got. Let's go. This is a note. It's like, what is that, Jim? What's that, Jim? You see all the commercials, right? The no judgment zone, right? Planet Fitness, whatever. I give them a pop. No judgment here. Your opinion is your opinion, whether we agree or not. You have a right to tell your opinion. You have a right to comment. You have a right to disagree, agree, whatever. So there's no policing of the comments. I feel as though this started during last football season, and I don't want to poke the bear, but I think we kind of know the crux. I think we know exactly why this occurred. It was right around the time I basically was saying, listen, the Eagles got to make a change here with Sirianni, and some of the Eagles fans took exception to it. And we know who the leader of the Bunker Boys are. We know, the mountain men up there that are in airplane mode. Some of the Eagles fans that chime in once in a while, and then they kind of go back into hiding. They felt their comments were not getting through. Now, again, I would like Angel to be on so we can have this conversation and he can explain himself. And I think going forward, if he joins the show, he'll understand there's going to be no policing of the comments. It's equal here. That's it. It's equal. We don't play favorites. I'm sorry, Michael. We don't play. Even though the corporation does produce profit, we just don't. Angel's not available, too busy exchanging 20s for ones. I don't think that's the case, man. I don't. I really don't. I don't think Angel's listening to house music right now. I don't think Angel's even entertaining the C team. I think Angel's just out doing God's work, doing what Angel does. I think that's really it. I do. But we will get down to the bottom of this. All right, NFL, here you go. Here's a couple of thoughts, if you will, for this Thursday with these OTAs, everything breaking. You get training camp right around the corner, preseason season. Here we go. We talk a lot about teams that we think are going to take that next jump and teams that we believe are going to take a step back. So let me throw a little curveball on this one. I'll get Lloyd's thoughts on this too. We focus so much on the quarterback position because that is the spot, face of the franchise, face of the league, face of the team. Here you go. They make the money. They do the commercials. They're the models. They get the endorsements. Oh, and I do have a couple thoughts on Jalen Hurts. How, for some reason, people are just going nuts that Jalen Hurts decided to get married. Like, wow, like leave the kid alone. But anyway, give me a quarterback or two. And think a little bit outside the box here. But a quarterback or two that you believe has kind of flown under the radar, but you think is getting ready to take that next jump. Quarterback, one or two of them, right? Joey B, good afternoon. Looking sharp, brother, with the button. Now, hey, it's the baby blue today, my friend. It's the baby blue. We just had to touch it up a little bit. Got to play the card, Joey B. Got to play the card, right? And by the way, I want any quarterback you want except, say, Bo Nix. Oh, there we go. Michael says, Bo Nix, ready to take, state the case, ready to take that next jump. So we're talking about year 1 to year 2, Denver, Bo Nix. Here we go. Oh, Joey B seconds that emotion. Bo Nix here in Denver. He's ready to make that step. My 2 dark horse MVP plays, Bo Nix and Kyle Murray. I'm not. There's no Bronco blue. Is there a Bronco blue? If anything, it's giant blue. Trust me. I'm not like some of you guys. I'm not flip-flopping. I mean, I don't know where Vince is on this Thursday. I don't know where the hell Vince is because Vince is the flip-flopper. I mean, he went from Pittsburgh to Duval to back to Pittsburgh to now Jacksonville. No. Not doing it at all. We don't know where Vince is. He could be doing God's work as well. Yes, we know Joey B is a very smart guy. It is not your Panthers cue. Is it the Caleb Williams and the Bears that will be in the playoffs this year? Mark the tape. It's always mark the tape. I don't think the Bears are going to win the 8 games we talked about, hitting the over. The Lions are the best team in that division. You still got Green Bay. You still got Minnesota. I mean, if you protect Caleb Williams and you keep him upright, there's a lot of pressure on Chicago. I mean, they clean house. There's a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams because Jared Goff's getting older. Minnesota's coming back. Essentially, McCarthy, a rookie quarterback, right? Missing all of his rookie campaign. Green Bay, is Jordan Love, interesting. Do we look at Jordan Love and do we put him in that, i.e., as Joey's mentioning, that Trevor Lawrence category, right? Trevor Lawrence, does he qualify as a guy to make the next step? I've gotten hammered, right? Because my belief was Trevor Lawrence is a very good quarterback. And I've seen when everything works for Trevor Lawrence and he's slinging it and he's upright, he looks like a franchise quarterback. And then there are times where the offensive line breaks down. I didn't like the fact that when they drafted Etienne, they should have fixed the offensive line. And he got crushed. He got killed. And now he's been injury prone. But again, you're talking now change in culture, new regime. Does he have to step up? I mean, it's hard for me, Joey, to sit there and say a guy that's entering his 5th season, it's got to be his time to step up. I mean, we got fooled. Trevor Lawrence's 2nd season in the NFL, he threw for over 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, and I think only 5 or 6 picks. And they were a good team. They were a good team. I mean, listen, they gave you flashes, did they not? They gave you flashes. I mean, they had the big win against the Chargers. Remember that crazy comeback? They were down big, and it was like this coming out party, threw for close to 300 yards, and then they played Kansas City very tough in the divisional round, and they lost by what was it, 7? I don't know if I can say it's his time to take the next step because, as Man alluded to, he's been trying to take that step for 3 years. Yep, the Lions center did retire, which is a loss. But I still think Detroit's going to be a very good team. Detroit's going to score a lot of points. They are going to score a lot of points. Green Bay just lost our cornerback, Sammy Darnold, ain't walking through the Vikings' door. Bears lost a lot of close games last year. The Bears lost a ton of close games. We actually talked about that with Lloyd the other day. We were going through the margin of defeat, and you're right. You know, the Bears season turned when they had the Hail Mary play because Washington went that way and the Bears went the other way. But to Trevor's point, when you look at the Bears last season, there was a stretch. You know, this is a team that was 4-2. They were coming off their bye. They were going to be a 5-2 team and probably the surprise of the NFL after 7 games, right? Aside from Washington. That game, Washington beats them late. Hail Mary. From that point on, they lost to Washington, Arizona, New England, Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, San Fran, Minnesota, Detroit, Seattle. They lost 10 games in a row. They lost by 3 to Washington. They lost in overtime to Minnesota, by 3 to Detroit. They lost by 3 to Seattle. They lost by 2 to Indianapolis early on in the season, and they lost by 6 against Houston early on. So they finished 5-12. Could they have been a 9-win team, a 10-win team? They could have, but they weren't. I think Trevor Lawrence is in the wrong offense. He would thrive in Miami's offense and play calling. Oh, man. Tell you what's going to be a big loss for Trevor Lawrence. Ingram goes to Denver. That's a huge loss. Ingram was really starting to hit his stride with Jacksonville. I know he's a little banged up. You know, he's still a tad inconsistent at times, and I know, I mean, he was as talented and as frustrating as a tight end to watch with the Giants because he had to build, you know, and I just go back to that game against Tampa, Daniel Jones's first start when they were down 18 and they came back in the 4th and won it. That's the game that Eli was benched. And then, of course, the Sunday night game, the Monday night game, the Thursday night game against the Eagles, that ball hits him right in the hands, Ingram, and he drops it. Back to Jacksonville real quick. So you're trying to find a silver lining here with Jacksonville, that offense. They can run the football a little bit, right? They've got a couple good wide receivers. That kid, Brian Thomas, is going to be a beast. You know, he's a hell of a player. I mean, he had a fantastic rookie season. I just think Trevor Lawrence needed a different coach, needed a different voice, and he's got to be healthy. He's got to be healthy. And this is it for Trevor Lawrence because they gave him a lot of money. Rams offense, Stafford going to retire soon. I think Stafford, they're going to bleed this out, man. They're going to bleed this out with Stafford. I really do. You know, remember too, we didn't know about his future about 2 months ago. There was thought, okay, can you connect Stafford to the Giants? Where's he going to go? And then obviously he decides, hey, I'm going to stay with the Rams, won a Super Bowl with the Rams, had that great career with Detroit. You know, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's not the same quarterback that he once was. Some of these guys that are older, right? The older guys, you kind of look around the league right now. Russell Wilson, Stafford, Goff, Aaron Rodgers. You know, man, these guys are, you know, even Prescott, these guys are a hit or two away from that's it, lights out. That's it. I mean, that's where we're at in the NFL. Can you count on these guys? I'm not as high on the Rams as Lloyd is. I'm not as high on the Rams as some of you guys are. I know their defense is good, but I also think you look at that division, it's very skittish. It's an enigma. You can't finish. You really can't. If we're talking about, figuring out divisions, right? NFC South, which we're going to talk about at 5:30, stinks. By default, Tampa should win that. And I think Carolina will be better. NFC West, Arizona, Rams, San Fran, if healthy, I still believe in the 49ers. But Seattle, I'm not 100% sold on. It has nothing to do with the quarterback. It's just that division to me is not appealing. I don't look at that division. I say it's going to blow you away. Huge pickup for Denver. Ingram. Oh, big. I mean, think about that. Ingram fits that Jimmy Graham mold. And Jimmy Graham, New Orleans, Sean Payton, here you go. Those seam routes, that's where you want Ingram. And you got a quarterback that's going to get on the ball, and you got a quarterback that's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly. I think Denver can push Kansas City. I really do. I watched Denver last year because I thought Bo Nix was a good quarterback. I would have loved the Giants to grab Bo Nix. But I also know you got a good head coach, and Russell Wilson was not a good fit. He just was not a good fit with Denver. He just wasn't. It's not the guy that they wanted. Peyton wants certain quarterbacks. He wants the physicality, the arm strength, and Bo Nix kind of fits that MO. And I think they're going to surprise some people. I really do. That's a very tough division. It is. You can argue, and we go back and forth. You look at these divisions right now in football. The AFC East has been one-sided because of the Buffalo Bills. The AFC North is a very good division. Baltimore, Cincinnati. I'll throw Pittsburgh because of their track record. The AFC South stinks. And then the AFC West, Denver's on the rise. The Raiders are going to be good. Better. The Chargers have shown you they're a playoff team. That's a very strong division. NFC East, 1 and 2. Washington and Dallas. NFC North, pick your poison. NFC South, as I told you, not good. And I'm starting to feel that way with the NFC West. If the 49ers can figure out a way to get through the season healthy and unscathed, there's absolutely no reason the 49ers should not win that division going away. Arizona is a dark horse pick because I like Murray and I believe he could be an MVP candidate. But I can still see the 49ers, if everything breaks, winning 10, 11 games. I mean, they open up the season against Seattle and the Saints, then the Cardinals and Jacksonville and the Rams. So that's a little mixed bag. If they can come out of those first 4 games 3-1, unscathed, Purdy's looking comfortable in the pocket, defense is showing up, then they're probably going to have a pretty decent year. Remember, Parcells said this all the time. You break your seasons into quarters, or if you want to go, halves, right? If you, when it was a 16 games season, you go, 5-3. Back then, 10 wins is going to get you a playoff spot. So if you kind of break it down, you go 3-1 and 3-1 and 2-2 and 2-1. Again, all you got to do is get to 10. Now, obviously, it's a little different with that 17th game. But, man, I believe if the 49ers can just stay healthy, they should win that division. That's just my thought. All right, fast approaching 5 o'clock. Lloyd Vance in about 20. A lot of comments coming in on these quarterbacks, and I'm a little surprised some of these names that you guys are throwing out there on X, Facebook. We will get to that as well. Keep it locked in. 60 to book, 60 to play with on this Thursday edition, Middays with Q, on this 19th of June, 2025. We're powered by our good friends over at Triax57. Don't forget, give them a follow on all social media platforms, www.triax57.com, at Triax57 on Facebook, IG, and X. And you can always follow me on IG, on X at Rich Q on Q, and also on TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. All right, quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side, and we will certainly reset the table.
Hi, I'm Bruce Pascoe. I'm very fortunate. Years ago, I found something that I genuinely like to do, and it's something that helps other people. What I do is help people transition from traditional health insurance into Medicare. I've been doing it here in Atlantic County for more than 20 years. If you're getting ready for Medicare, call me for a free consultation. 609-484-9800. Hi, I'm Bruce Pascoe. I'm very fortunate. Years ago, I found something that I genuinely like to do, and it's something that helps other people. What I do is help people transition from traditional health insurance into Medicare. I've been doing it here in Atlantic County for more than 20 years. If you're getting ready for Medicare, call me for a free consultation. 609-484-9800.
This is what the Down Beach Seafood Fest is all about. It's about community, it's about friends, it's about culture, right? The food culture in Atlantic County is rich.
All right, welcome back. Thursday edition Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock. Let me get some of these comments. Don't forget, get social with us. Brought to you by our good friends over at Triax57. Join them on all platforms. I know we had an issue streaming today to them, so we put it on their Facebook page. Not sure if you guys can see that as well, but you'll have to click the link if you want to view that. In any event, as I said, Lloyd Vance is going to join us in about 25 or so minutes, and we will get his thoughts on the NFC South. Let me get to some more of these comments as well. Q, I actually think this is the year that CJ Stroud takes that next step. This is Texan Fan 16 on social. I looked at offense. I looked at the coaching staff. They've done a hell of a job with him over the last several years since he's come into the NFL. He can have a monster season. CJ Stroud, I feel CJ Stroud is almost in that Jordan Love. Like right now, if I were to ask you guys who's better, who would you take? 17 games, full NFL season, CJ Stroud or Jordan Love? Like Jordan Love has moments where he looks really good. Like he looks really good as a quarterback, but then he misses just the easiest of throws. Like, I don't know if he's not reading these defenses, but sometimes he just looks very, man, I don't like to say disinterested. I think that's too strong of a word or a phrase, but I don't know if he's not seeing the field. I think he's a good quarterback. I'm not ready to put Jordan Love in the category of, a quarterback that's ready to take the next step. I think the verdict is still out on Jordan Love. I think even Packers fans look at Jordan Love and they're kind of like, now remember too, Jordan Love didn't play a lot his first 2 seasons in the NFL, and rightfully so because he was backing up Aaron Rodgers. His rookie year, he played well. The offensive line kept him upright last year, but man, he missed a lot of throws. He missed a lot of throws last season, and these are throws that as a quarterback, man, you would love to have them back. You're talking about wide open shots down the field. Wide open shots down the field. So I don't know, Robert, Packers fan, Q, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I'm going to take Jordan Love. You know, I'm a diehard Packers fan. The fact that he had to sit behind Rodgers, I don't think that hurt him at all. You mentioned the offensive line. They're much better and improved this year. They're going to be a run-first team, then they're going to let Jordan Love open it up. Could be the case. Could be the case. I mean, I'm not, not as versed in Packerland as you are, Robert, but I'm looking at their weapons right now, and Jacobs, he's a nice back. He had a nice season, and listen, he had a good career with the Raiders, and then he came over. The argument is why they swapping backs, if you remember that. Wide receiver wise, Reed, who's the kid that always drops passes, but he's really talented. Christian Watson, right? I'm not as high on Jordan Love or the Packers as you guys might be. I'm just not. I'm not feeling it with the Packers. And I think if you look at that division and you look how the division's constructed, we talked a lot about Detroit. We talked about Chicago. We talked about Minnesota. Minnesota, McCarthy's interesting, right? So Skullfan16 hits me up and he says, JJ McCarthy, question mark. I mean, what are we basing this off of? Right? What are we, what's the realistic, the kid's got an arm, we know that. But what is, and a lot of people thought that Harbaugh push, sold him. But, what's the realistic outlook numbers, projections that you're looking at? I mean, is this kid going to come in and throw for 25, 28 touchdowns and 3,500 yards? Is that what you guys really believe? It's going to be very hard for that team to duplicate the success with McCarthy that they had in Sam Darnold. It just is. It just is. Darnold played out of his mind last season until the last game in his regular season against Detroit, and then obviously the playoff game. But he did enough where he was able to sign that big contract, 3 years, $100 million with 37 guaranteed with Seattle. So, McCarthy hasn't had anyone push him. That's his job, right? That was his job. So you got a quarterback in Sam Darnold that revitalized his career. He had a revival after bouncing around a little bit, right? He was with the Jets, didn't work out, being drafted, saw the ghost, and then Carolina, and then the 49ers, Carolina, what have you. Wanted to stay in San Francisco. Loved it there. And then, short term, short solution, low risk, high reward, Minnesota, and he cashed in. I mean, you can say all you want about Sam Darnold, but he hit on 67% of his passes. He threw close to 4,500 yards. He threw close to 40 touchdowns, just 12 picks, and they won 14 games. He went to the Pro Bowl, and again, he was also in the running for MVP, comeback player of the year. So all that being said, now you don't have him. So you got McCarthy. So he's going to get the keys to the car with this offense. And are they going to be more of a run-heavy first team? Dink and dunk, let him throw, let him chuck it down. I don't know. Michigan had that pro-style run-heavy offense in 2022, 2023. And he threw the ball well. I mean, he amassed 44 touchdowns, well over 5,000 yards. I mean, close to 6,000 yards. Didn't turn the ball over, and his completion percentage was right around 70. So now you've got a good, offensive play caller, that mind, and Kevin O'Connell. And he's one of the guys that said, hey, man, go and get this kid, right? I don't know if the numbers that I'm projecting are enough or going to be fair when we're talking about a guy like J.J. McCarthy. I just don't know. 3,500 yards? 28 touchdowns? I don't know. All right, 10 after 5, we'll reset the table. Got some NFL comments still coming in. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. Don't forget, Lloyd Vance is going to join me right around 5:30 today. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up.
Hi, I'm Bruce Pascoe. I'm very fortunate. Years ago, I found something that I genuinely like to do, and it's something that helps other people. What I do is help people transition from traditional health insurance into Medicare. I've been doing it here in Atlantic County for more than 20 years. If you're getting ready for Medicare, call me for a free consultation. 609-484-9800.
This is what the Down Beach Seafood Fest is all about. It's about community, it's about friends, it's about culture, right? The food culture in Atlantic County is rich.
All right, 5:15 on a Thursday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. Again, we are on my YouTube channel, Facebook, multiple YouTube channels, also X on SR 1029 FM The Game. Little issue with Triax57. We'll work through that for tomorrow. I apologize for that. You can check out my sports flashes Monday to Friday in the morning on Triax57 on the Facebook page as well. So we'll be back tomorrow, 4 to 6, going forward, Monday to Friday, 4 to 6. Let me get back to some of these comments as well on these quarterbacks. We're looking at that. We got the Caitlin Clark stuff. We got the rug stuff. Apparently the rug stuff really struck a nerve with a lot of people yesterday. So we can continue to get into those comments. This is what I got yesterday on, this is again from just from what we talked about TikTok. Let me see. This is George chiming in Q. Excellent take. If they let Michael Vick, Deshaun Watson back, then they sure as hell better let Ruggs back. Shaking my head. He made a mistake, and what he did was very bad, but he deserves consideration to come back. D-Rock chimes in. Q, you're the first person that actually has a logical take on this. Excellent job. All right, so here we go. With that being said, as I mentioned, also, I want to get into Caitlin Clark, and we're going to get into that in a second. By the way, my shows will also be on demand on Triax57. So here we go. All right. Where's the banker, Lloyd? We said Lloyd's coming in at 5:30. 5:30. Did I say 5:05? 5:30. I apologize. 5:30. Don't send me with the juice either. It's been that kind of Thursday. I mean, we fired off, and for some reason, Boxcast went the other way on Triax. I got my Triax57 audience looking for me. Now they got to go to the YouTube channel. We're on my YouTube channel. Do not go anywhere. I don't want to hear the juice. I don't want to hear anything. Leave Lloyd alone as we break down the NFC South. Let me get to a couple more comments. Kevin chimes in from TNX. That's a little hike, but I appreciate it. Q got you going on your X account. Well, I appreciate that as well. You mentioned some of these young quarterbacks. Where do you put, oh my goodness, are you ready for this one? Where do you put Justin Fields? Man. I am quietly a Justin Fields fan. I am. I don't hide that fact. Like, I think Justin Fields, there's upside to Justin Fields. And I go back his first 2 seasons in the NFL. Well, really his first 3 seasons with the Bears, the kid was running for his life. And I know what you guys are going to say. You can't always blame it on the offensive line, Rich. Sometimes you got to throw the ball away. Fine. But this kid was sacked 36 times, 55 times, 44 times. Do you know he played 10 games last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers? He was only sacked 16 times. Either he was running for his life, he had offensive line breakdowns, or he was seeing the field better, and the offensive line was holding up. I think Justin Fields going to the Jets, I actually would have had no problem if the Giants would have signed Justin Fields. It's a low risk to high reward type of move. It's low risk because it's a 2-year deal. Remember, he only signed a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So did Russell Wilson. So that was prove-it deals. That's why they were kind of left holding the bag. When those two decided to go and test the free agent waters, they were putting all their eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket and the sweepstakes. But I think Justin Fields could have a decent season with the Jets. The Jets are going to run the football. We know that. That's who they are. The Jets have some offensive weapons. They have a couple of nice players. I mean, we can agree. They've got some nice players, but they're going to run the ball with Breece Hall. You know, you got Garrett Wilson, you got Reynolds, you got, Lazard, a veteran. Garrett Wilson's a really good wide receiver. He's got to get his touches, man. He's got to get his touches, right? I mean, look, the kid's already 279 receptions in 3 years with the Jets. He's a player, man. You got to get him involved early. And Breece Hall, and it just comes down to the same thing with a lot of these players. Just be healthy. Just be healthy. He almost ran for 900 yards, average 4.7. So they're going to try to be run first, let Fields move around a little bit, get him rolling in the pocket. I think he can be a good quarterback. I really could. De facto leader of the Bunker Boys, Fields is a beast, can turn the Jets around. Well, let's pump the brakes. He's going to have an opportunity. He's going to have an opportunity to resurrect his career. And that's all that matters at this point. If you're Justin Fields, some of these quarterbacks are trying to just stay in the league, man. And now you got, look, Trey Lance. Trey Lance is a bust. It didn't work out. Fields, to his credit, hey, man, I'm going to go to Pittsburgh. I might not play. Are they going to fluctuate between me and Russell Wilson? When I get out there, I got to make the best of it. Now, were there a couple times where he rolled out and there were some issues with his accuracy? But by all accounts, by all reports, the Jets are loving this kid. And again, it's a move where you say, here we go. High risk, right? A very high risk, a very, very low reward, right? Or low risk, pardon me, a very high reward. Low risk, a very, very high reward. Because if this kid goes out and they win 9-10 games and they're right in the thick of things for the wild card spot, then hey, man, who knows? Who knows? I mean, he was sought after, and he signed a 2-year, $40 million deal, with the Jets. And Pittsburgh was looking at him. I know the Giants were. He had 6 solid starts, but then he got benched for Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson ultimately was healthy. But I think the kid can play, and I think if that offensive line can pass protect and they run the ball, if they go run heavy first and foremost and they do some RPOs, they let this kid roll out, he's going to have an opportunity to throw it down the field. He really is. He's going to. Yeah, I mean, I would hold the beast talk for a while as well. I would too. Let's, some of these quarterbacks that are getting a change of scenery, Baker Mayfield, the outlier, cast off, almost became a journeyman quarterback. He has resurrected his career. Geno Smith has resurrected his career. Sam Darnold has resurrected his career. Justin Fields is trying to resurrect his career. He wants to have a good showing. He's getting paid. If Justin Fields puts up good numbers and the Jets play much more competitive, and again, as I mentioned, maybe they're on the outside looking in when it comes to a wild card berth in the AFC, and they win 8 games, and he throws for 3,800 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 picks, then guess what? They think, okay, hey, man, we've got a franchise quarterback for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They thought they were going to get that with Aaron Rodgers. They thought they were going to get the Jets. Their belief was we can squeeze 3 to 4 years of great football out of this guy. When everyone knew Aaron Rodgers was shot, he was done. You were lucky to squeeze a season out of him. And what happens? 4 offensive plays into the season 2 years ago, he gets hurt. I'd be ecstatic if Fields turns around his career. He's had a bad shake for his career. He has. That offensive line was horrible. Horrible in Chicago. They did not do this kid any favors. I feel the same way about Bryce Young. When you're drafted at a certain spot, when you look at the quarterback, this is the one thing that really annoys the heck out of me in the NFL. We look at these quarterbacks and right away we say, well, that quarterback was taken here. So because he was taken here, he better pan out. Because if he doesn't pan out, he's a bust. Now, Justin Fields was a first-round pick. He wasn't top 10. He was 11 to Chicago. But that's still, when you're top 10, top 11, top 12, I believe you have to have a career of substance. If not, people would deem you a bust. They would deem you a bust. Bryce Young. Trey Lance, Trey Lance is not an NFL quarterback. He's not. He's not an NFL quarterback, and it was a reach. It was a bad pick by the 49ers. It was a horrible pick. It was just a horrible pick by the 49ers to draft this kid 3rd overall, and that kid's gone from San Fran, he's gone to Dallas, and now he's with the Chargers, clinging to try to make something out of his career. It was just a bad pick. And sometimes that happens in the NFL. Justin Fields, Bryce Young. Don't dismiss Bryce Young, because let's be fair. If we're going to sit here and say the offensive line did not protect Justin Fields, then you have to be fair here. Look what's happened over the last several years with Bryce Young. I mean, that kid's 23. He came into the league, what was he, 21? He got sacked 62 times. That's not fair. He got sacked 62 times his rookie season. He was running for his life. The game started to slow down a little bit for Young. And maybe he's not that quarterback that is going to put up 350. Maybe Bryce Young's not going to be the Murray. He's not going to be a guy that's going to have 288 plus 68 on the ground or throw for 355 and 3 or 4 touchdowns. Maybe Young's going to be that 218, 225 with a touchdown and a running touchdown here and there. 219, 263, but not turn the ball over. Late in the season, he played much better. If you look at his last 3 games against Arizona, Tampa Bay, and Atlanta, he really played well. It's probably some of the best football of his career. He didn't have a pick, and he threw for 7 touchdowns. And he was averaging right around 233 a game. So I'm not giving up on Bryce Young. And maybe I'm biased because I think that Carolina is going to be much better. But I think Bryce Young, the kid's going to have a career. Hey, don't forget, as always, get social with us at Triax57 on Facebook, IG, and X. We will be streaming live, I promise you, on Triax57 tomorrow on a Friday edition of Middays with Q from 4 to 6. But in the interim, follow them on Facebook, IG, and X. And you can also log on to Triax57.com. You can follow me on IG and X at Rich Q on Q and TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. Quick timeout, and then we will punch up our good friend, Lloyd Vance. We told you Lloyd Vance is not holding banker hours today. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side.
Hi, I'm Bruce Pascoe. I'm very fortunate. Years ago, I found something that I genuinely like to do, and it's something that helps other people. What I do is help people transition from traditional health insurance into Medicare. I've been doing it here in Atlantic County for more than 20 years. If you're getting ready for Medicare, call me for a free consultation. 609-484-9800.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It is 5:27 on this Thursday edition of Middays with Q. I don't know why I'm running my hands like it's cold. It's 85 degrees out there on the Jersey Shore. But the man with the plan, not doing banker hours. For some reason, I was saying you were joining us at 5:05, and everyone just got pretty bent out of shape. Be that as it may, our good friend Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. And, of course, you hear him during the week with myself and, of course, of BYP as well. Man, have a little patience when we take our breaks. Will you have a little patience, can you? All right, my friend, how's everything?
Doing great, Q. Always something to talk about around the league. And, we're going to have a little break before training camp, but there's lots of topics out there.
Yeah, so because now everyone believes you're a banker, they want to know if you can actually advise on the corporation on today's interest rates. It's only because I guess they wanted you earlier in the show, and I said, Lloyd works, man. He creates content too. He's got a family. He does stuff. He's busy. He's a hardworking guy. So
I told you 5:30 today. You should let the audience know.
Who you telling to do his job? I told him 5:30. I absolutely told them.
They need to do a better job listening.
Again, Lloyd Vance kind enough to join us. All right, let's take a look at the NFC North. I touched a little bit on that division last week with Fansided's John Bueller. I think it's a kind of division, to be quite honest with you. It's not, I don't look at it as the sexiest of sexy divisions, but with that being said, let me pull up the win total for you. Tampa Bay sitting at 9.5, Atlanta 7.5, Panthers 6.5, the Saints 5.5. Let's start with Tampa Bay at 9.5. You would think the de facto team to win just because they've been there before. They've won their division. They won playoff games. They got Baker Mayfield. He's getting paid. They've got offensive weapons. And just because of the division, they should be the team to beat. But how about Tampa Bay? Win total 9.5.
Interesting team here, Q. As you said, this division is kind of downtrodden. They only had one team make the playoffs last year. Tampa Bay at 10-7. They lose 23-20 in the wild card round to Washington. And the offense has put up some points. They scored over 500 points, about 29.5 per game. The thing is, Liam Cohen is now with the Jacksonville Jaguars as their head coach. And then defensively, Todd Bowles is supposed to be his calling card, but their defense is kind of middle of the road. It allowed almost 23 points per game. Key thing for me, obviously, is they're two-time defending champs in this division, 4-2 in that division last year. They got hot late. They were 4-1 in their last 5 games, and Baker Mayfield did a nice job in terms of turning his career around. We're not even talking to him as a journeyman guy. It's been on like 4
No,
teams now.
no, you're
So
right. It's funny. We were talking
yeah,
about these quarterbacks. I don't know if you were listening, but some of these quarterbacks that have an opportunity to, you know, turn the next chapter of their career or flip the script, if you will. And I mentioned, with Justin Fields, which again is a conversation for another day. But Baker Mayfield, that guy, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, right, and Baker Mayfield's been able to cash in with Tampa Bay. I think this is a team that's going to score a lot of points. You look at their first couple games of the season. 2 road games to start at Atlanta, at Houston, come back, Jets and Philly, at Seattle, home against San Fran, at Detroit, at New Orleans. Their bye is week 9. So, again, they're going to be tested pretty early. And then coming back in the bookend late in the season, they play Carolina twice the last 3 weeks, and they catch a break. Well, actually, they don't catch a break because they're in Tampa, but they go down to Miami in late December. But point being is they'll get Carolina. We don't know where Carolina is going to be at late in the season, but that first 6 or 7 game stretch, a couple primetime games here and there, they come at it at 5-2, 4-3. Heck, even 6-2 going into that bye week. Man, to me that tells me they're going to coast to the division.
I definitely kind of agree with you. They're only facing 5 teams that made the playoffs last season, and you talk about they play Carolina. They also have the Jets, who's kind of beat up, and then we're expecting New Orleans to be pretty bad. I know we're going to talk about them in a minute. I think with their offensive weapons, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin's coming back from that ankle injury. They get Emeka Ibuke in the draft. I liked him a lot. And then Bucky Irvin kind of stepping forward to running back position. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. And that 9.5 is probably right there, Q. I'll say a little over, maybe 10 wins. But, that half a point is going to be tough in terms of win-loss.
Yeah, I don't like the division. I think maybe I just fixated on the division. I just don't like it. I don't think it's very strong. I think 10, you're good. Atlanta 7.5, and Atlanta is a funny team because we all screamed, "What are you doing drafting Penix after you give Kirk Cousins that contract?" Penix, as you alluded to, from what you're hearing, we know he's going to be the guy going forward with Atlanta. I don't like the makeup of the team. I don't like the coaching staff. I think their offense is inept. We are talking about young quarterbacks maybe taking that next step. What's the realistic expectations for Michael Penix Jr. this season?
Yeah, Penix Jr. is going to be the starter from day one, and Kirk Cousins is probably going to be the most expensive backup ever. $27 million or so, and then they surrounded Penix with some good weapons. You have Darnell Mooney, Drake London. Is he ready to step forward? But there's question marks. Kyle Pitts. He was supposed to be that elite tight end. He's really kind of never stepped forward, and they're talking about maybe trading him. Bijan Robinson, this is a season he's going to need to break out. Obviously, in the draft, they concentrated on a defense that allowed almost 25 points per game, bringing in 2 pass rushers from the SEC. So you would hope that they would challenge the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But 8-9 last season, they were also 4-2 in the division, but only 4-5 at home. And we're going to find out week 1. They have Tampa week 1, and then we'll see from there. They only play 6 teams that made the playoffs.
Their schedule is brutal. They open against Tampa, as you mentioned. They go on the road against Minnesota. They go on the road against my upstart Carolina Panthers. They come back home against my upstart Washington Commanders. They have a bye. Then they have Buffalo, San Fran, Miami, New England. That might be a little better. The Colts, we don't know. I mean, to open up the season like that, I know they get a couple primetime games, Buffalo and the Rams late, Buffalo early in week 6. I mean, you talk about where you're going to be make or break the season, and then that Sunday night game, week 2 against Minnesota. If they come out of the gate and Penix is struggling a little bit, and they're 1-3, 1-4, they're going to be in store for a very, very, very long season. And we still don't know. Like, what's the latest on Kirk Cousins right now? Which is funny because you're paying him a substantial amount, like a substantial amount of money, and he's just there. And here's the thing: if people believe he's going to start somewhere else, and if you're not entirely sold on Michael Penix Jr., does it even, make sense for the Falcons to hang on to Kirk Cousins?
Right now, I think it's going to be what they can get in return, Q, and what they definitely going to have to do is eat a lot of that money. That's going to if they want to have a trading partner. So right now, it's looking like Kirk Cousins is going to be stuck there. He's going to be the backup. Maybe an injury around the league may change this, and then that's going to be a key thing as we're in training camp. But right now, it's looking like Arthur Blank saying, "Okay, it's a sunk cost. They're going to keep him around." This seems to be interesting because I think the coach and the GM are on a hot seat.
But now follow me. As goofy as this may sound, I know that there are so many rumors out there trying to connect Kirk Cousins to other teams, right? From what I'm reading and gathering, it's almost as though, well, look, he's getting paid a lot, right? But he's kind of settling in to that backup role. And that might be the card, that might be, the hand to play. Because yes, it's Michael Penix's team. No one's disputing that. Okay, fine. And Cousins has said that, and he said it in his press conferences, and he's saying all the right things, and he's cashed in. He's holding a clipboard. Here we go. But now, what happens if this kid struggles? At least you have a viable option, right? Option to a quarterback that's already proven, if that makes sense. So it's like hold on to him, right?
Yeah, I think, you ask around the league, having a veteran guy like him in the bullpen is something great to have. And Michael Penix Jr., he was very injured in college. So, playing a full season in the National Football League, you wonder his knees going to be able to take that type of damage. And this offensive line is not the best. You have Jake Matthews there, but some other key areas that they've had some protection liability. So it's going to be interesting to see if they get Raheem Morris on the hot seat, gets desperate and says, you know what, put Kirk Cousins out there. But I'm hearing ownership is involved in terms of Michael Penix, and he's their guy.
Panthers sitting at 6.5. I'm just giddy about this team. I don't know. I feel as though the change of culture. I think Bryce Young is going to emerge. That franchise quarterback, that leader. They play very, very hard. If you watch them, and I watched a handful of their games last season, it's not like, they were getting blown out every single solitary week. I mean, they had some tough losses. Now, granted, you're a young team at times, you are going to get waxed. You're going to lose to Washington, big time. But I look at some of these other games, they lost to the Eagles by 6. They lost to Kansas City by 3. They lost to Tampa in overtime. They had a couple bad blowout losses. Atlanta put up 38. They got to clean up the defense. I think they're going to be a team that you don't want to play late in the season. There's always that team where, man, I see these guys and I don't want to have to deal with them. And it's funny because when we go back to the schedule, Tampa gets them 2 out of the last 3 weeks. So Carolina, you can see the win total right there. Let me pull up their schedule. 6.5. Give me your thoughts on the Panthers.
They're an interesting team too because they are more dangerous than their record shows. And last year you saw that. I think it was Cleveland. They beat them, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, they were chalking that up as a suicide pool victory for the other side." And they started playing very hard at the end of the season. Canales has done a nice job in terms of turning over this roster. Finished 2-3 in their last 5 games, but early on everybody was like, "Oh, bench Bryce Young," and he sat on the bench for a little bit for Andy Dalton. But by the end of the season, everybody was like, okay, this kid can make some throws. And I saw in those last couple of games, he was dangerous, and he started looking like the guy that came out of Alabama. So Dan Morgan's the general manager there, done a nice job in terms of assembling some young talent. Obviously, a lot of people weren't happy about Burns, and they send him to the Giants. But,
Right.
they're getting Tech McMillan, in the first round
Kid
out of
from Arizona.
Arizona. Good receiver. He's going to everybody wanted him, and he's looking very good in camp. So they have him. Chuba Hubbard is a nice player, and then they're working on this defense, bringing over guys like Tershawn Wharton from Kansas City. So I expect this team to be better. 6.5. Last year they won 5. I could see them getting to 7. I could. So I'll say over the 6.5, but it may be tight.
Well, if they go on the road and beat Jacksonville, which is very likely, because I think Jacksonville is a fraud, but if they go on the road and beat Jacksonville and they come back and also beat Arizona, they're the early story of the NFL season. Then they have Atlanta, New England. Those are winnable games. And I say Jacksonville because I kind of tweak my guy Vince, who says Panthers offense. He was a Steelers fan. Now he's a Jacksonville fan. Panthers offense has a chance to be sneaky good with the rookie wide receiver. Do we think the quarterback's going to take the next step and lead them to a wild card spot? You look at the first season with Bryce Young. That kid was just running for his life, benched, inconsistent, took a lot of sacks. It kind of simmered down a little bit. Do you think the game will slow down for him in season number 3?
No, I definitely believe, with Canales coming over from Tampa Bay, he's done a nice job in terms of working with quarterbacks. Think of what we were talking about earlier with Baker Mayfield, resurrected his career. Brad Idzik, the offense coordinator, they're designing some nice plays for him. Xavier Legette, they got him in the draft last year. Ted McMillan this year, who I was talking about. Chuba Hubbard is very underrated. So, yeah, this is going to be a team that's going to be fun to watch.
So am I out of my element here by saying I threw out the question about maybe, what are we looking at? It's 5:40, probably about 45 or so minutes ago, about quarterbacks that I think outside the box thinking take one of the biggest jumps. Do you have to pull me back if I say I think Bryce Young is going to have that jump? Meaning, and again, we let's not get fixated on stats, but if this kid goes out and throws for 3,500 yards and 25 touchdowns compared to 2,400 yards and 16 touchdowns and a couple picks this season, to me, that equates taking leaps and bounds, kind of a jump. I mean, am I too overzealous with that?
No, Q, I think a viable step up for him would be cutting down on his interceptions. He had a lot of problems with that early last season. Um, and he was a big time prospect coming out of Alabama. So I think, he's going to have his opportunities yeah, he's not going to be upper echelon and lead them to the wild card playoffs, I think. But the team will be markedly better. The 5 wins last season. I think if they can get to 7, get some excitement about them, have another good draft underneath Dan Morgan, and David Tepper seems to like Canales, giving him a longer leash than other coaches. I think the Panthers are building something there.
Vince Simon, did I just hear Q call dibs on teams that aren't the G Man? I have no more jokes about my Jags. And then because I said the Jags are frauds, of course he weighs in and calls me a hater. What else is new? I think they're going to win 7 games. I think they can win 8 games, and I think they're going to be extremely competitive. Again, 5:43 on a Thursday edition. Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here, powered by our good friends over at Triax57. We'll be live streaming on Triax on a Friday tomorrow from 4 to 6. Look out for the Sports Flash in the morning as well on their Facebook page. This show today will be on demand as well on Triax57, so you'll check the programming schedule and the grid. Lloyd Vance kind enough to join me at Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football, every Monday 8 to 9 on SR 1029 FM. The Game. Finally, the Saints, 5.5. The Giants are going to be bad. The Giants are going to be really bad, and I think the Saints are going to be right there as well. 5.5 for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, Q. I a couple places I looked, it was 4.5. Maybe 5.5 is optimistic for him. But I fully expect this team to be in the running for Arch Manning or whoever's that number 1 pick next season. And last year they only won 5 games, and they finally got rid of Dennis Allen. He was there forever. Kellen Moore's coming there to clean up this mess. But quarterback position, Tyler Shuck, huge reach there. You want, okay. He's an overage prospect coming out of Louisville, and everybody's like, okay, who is this guy? And they went with Kelvin Banks on the offensive line because Ramczyk retired. They're trying to fix that. But they didn't really bring in a lot, in terms of difference makers. You have Brandon Cooks coming back at an advanced age. You wonder about Chris Olave and the concussion issue. Kamara's getting old, and on guys on defense are getting older as well, like Cam Jordan. So it, it's going to be interesting with this team, what they
I,
have left.
I was looking at the look ahead lines for some of these games and, try to kind of rationalize or come up with okay, where can the Saints, where do they have potential winnable games? Like where are they not going to be dogs? I mean, think about this. Arizona goes on the road to open up the season against New Orleans, and they're laying 6. I mean, it's sitting at 5.5. That line might go up to 6.5, 7. San Fran, week 2, on the road, laying a touchdown. I don't think the Saints are going to be favored in a lot of games. I think their offense is going to struggle. I'd be more inclined to start to hammer some of these totals, team totals, if you will. I don't see this team winning 4, 5 games. I'm going to give you their first 7 or 8 right now. They open against Arizona and the 49ers, and then they go on the road to take on Seattle and the Bills. I mean, they're staring down the barrel of an 0-4 start.
Yeah, and when you're talking about that, I always talk about 0-3 is pretty much a death sentence. You have no chance to make it to playoffs. Obviously, this team and the lack of talent on roster, uh, I do agree with you. I think they're a 4-win team or so, and you're looking at the quarterbacks coming out for next season.
So how about this? This could be the early indicator of when Jackson Dart will play. Then they host my Giants.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
No, but I'm talking about the Giants. Who is that, Siri? Get the hell out of here.
That's the game I had circled, too. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm like,
so if they lose that game, that's Jackson Dart here. I mean, but no, is that a winnable game for the Saints? I got to see let me see if I can get the look ahead line. That is week
5 in New Orleans.
Week 5 in New Orleans. The Giants are favored by 1.5. I might have to grab that right now. 1.5.
That's a toilet bowl.
In that game is 42.
Your guy Russell Wilson, man, maybe pulls some magic out of the hat, man. That's an ugly game.
Goodness.
That's an ugly game, man.
Who wins the division?
When I look at it, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Maybe the Falcons can clean some things up if Penix Jr. gets better. But I think Tampa Bay is going to win it again. And like we always see, the winner of this division has an early out in the playoffs typically. Now, Tampa Bay did beat, Detroit a couple years ago, or the Eagles. They beat the Eagles a couple years ago.
That's right. In the wild card game, they blew them out.
So it's you never know. But I just think this division is downtrodden, and this would be third year in a row that they win it. So maybe they get it done, but I just don't see the other teams taking a step forward. Particularly Carolina will be better, as we said, but the Saints are going to be very bad, and the Falcons. With that coaching staff being on the hot seat, I just don't know if they've done enough.
Which, if you think about it, then in the NFC, as we wrap it up, so if you go by what you're saying, playoff wise. So, and I'll pull it up real quick. Let's say the Washington and the Eagles come out of the NFC East. That's 2 teams. Then you have the NFC North. I don't think you're going to get 3 teams again. I think you're only going to get 2, whatever 2, pencil them in. Then you got the NFC West. Maybe you get 2 teams, and then or you get 1, and then you got the NFC South, and that's a potential for, say, a Carolina to maybe sneak in. Now, again, are they a 10-win team? I don't think so, but who knows? Rams, Seattle, Arizona, San Fran, those teams can trip up in the West. And then Carolina can be right there late in the season, and that 8 wins, 9 wins gets them in. I mean, that would be a hell of a story. It really would.
It would, and they're a young team. We always see like a young team kind of, get hot, and they start moving forward, and next thing you know, they're in the mix. So you never know. Every year in the NFL, there's at least 4 new teams in the playoffs. So it could happen.
It also not to cut you off, they were 2-15 a couple years ago, right? So 2-15 during Bryce Young's rookie season, and then the growing pains a little bit last year, getting benched here and there, Andy Dalton, and they managed to win 5 games. So you would assume that they're ascending a little bit. 6 or 7 is is realistic.
It could be, and there's always a team jumping out of nowhere. I know last season everybody was like, "Oh, the Vikings with Darnold, they're not going to do anything." They turn around and win 14 games, and it's just wow. Think
Yeah.
think about Flacco leading the Browns to the playoffs a couple years ago. Nobody even saw that coming. So,
No,
it,
off
it,
the
it
couch.
can happen. And when you talk about schedules, Carolina only plays 5 teams that made the playoffs. So
Good
there's some
point.
winnable games there,
Yeah.
and it's going to just take surprise here and there. And you got to watch Ted McMillan. He could be that rookie of the year who they build around.
Got about a minute before I let you get out of here and we start to wrap it up. Give me a quarterback, young quarterback you think's ready to take that next jump.
Yeah, I was just talking to my son about this. I think Justin Fields, I think he's set up
We were
in
talking about
he's
Fields.
set up in the right position. Aaron Glenn believes in him. He's coming in there. He's not going to be looking over his shoulder. He has Brees Hall to hand the football off to. Garrett Wilson, who's familiar with at the receiver position. And, he's not going to have to carry the whole show in terms of,
No.
he will run, but he's not going to have to run for 1,000 yards like he did with the Bears and pass. So I definitely watch Justin Fields coming up.
And remember too, they bring this kid in, and it's a 2-year contract. He was only in for a year with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was thinking about bringing him back. They weren't going to bring Russell Wilson back. Field signs with the Jets. Here's an opportunity, resurrect your career, and maybe they squeeze a good 3, 4, 5 years of really good football out of Justin Fields. And you got him for a bargain, did you not?
They did. They did. And I think the Steelers were 6-3 when he stopped starting. So if he cuts down on his turnovers, which he kind of did last season, protects the football. That defense is ready to go, and now they got Aaron Glenn coming over there to help that defense. He's going to be a fun guy to watch. And it won't be all about Aaron Rodgers anymore with the Jets.
Yeah, I don't know. Man, inquiring about Googling. I don't know. That wasn't a good, maybe that was my phone. I think because he's saying his phone. My phone just went a little sporadic. Don't forget, Lloyd joins me every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays during football. We'll actually push that a little more. You can catch him every Monday night, 8 to 9. Lloyd Vance's Insider Football and Sports Radio, 1029 FM, The Game. And he's kind enough to join me on this Thursday edition of Middays with Q. I appreciate a couple moments, my friend. Forget about the banker hours. You stay extra hours, the lunch pail. You don't even have to worry about the ATM card. You're right there, drive through, open window, teller, football knowledge, and then get them where they need to go.
Oh, yeah. All right, Q. Look forward to talking to you later on. See you.
You got it, brother. Thank you very much. All right, quick timeout. We'll close it out. All right, we'll start wrapping up. Good stuff from Lloyd. We'll continue to look around the NFL next week. Let me get you caught up to speed on baseball. By the way, I know we didn't get too much into Game 6 tonight. I already told you I like Indiana covering. I'm sorry, I like OKC covering the number and winning the game by at least 10. Diamondbacks up 9-5 over the Blue Jays. I know there were a bunch of earlier games today. Twins beat the Reds 12-5. Yankees finally stopped the slide 7-3 over the Angels. Nats get a win over Colorado 4-3. Tigers over the Pirates. Cardinals over the White Sox 5-4. Brewers over a lot of high scoring games 8-7. Royals over the Rangers. Let me give the Qfecta before we get out of here on this Thursday, powered by our good friends over at Triax57, Triax57.com. Here is the pack of picks. NBA Finals Game 6. I'm going to take OKC laying the 6.5 over the Pacers. I do like the Phillies. That's an early first pitch, by the way. 140 on the money line. And then WNBA. We've been on a roll with the WNBA. Mercury plus 11.5 versus the Liberty. All right, as we start wrapping up, as I mentioned, don't forget you can catch us every Monday to Friday, 4 to 6 live on Triax57, or you can watch us on the Triax57 Facebook page, Triax57.com. You can also check us out on my YouTube channel at Rich Quinones. You just Google Rich Q on Q, or you follow the link on my X account. And again, that's at Rich Q on X and IG. Follow Triax57 on Facebook, IG, and X. And of course, TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. Tomorrow, John Bueller from Fanside. We'll see if we can sneak on Angel. Next week, Larry Henry from The Athletic. We'll talk a little soccer with him in the States and abroad, get his thoughts on USA men's soccer and a couple other things to watch out over the next couple months. Steve Garner, MLB, USA Today writer, Hall of Fame voter on baseball. We'll catch up with him. Obviously, Lloyd, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Costco is going to start joining us as we start to look ahead to what's going on in the region, Cal Athletic, high school-wise football, which is among us, and of course, college football. We've got a lot of really interesting storylines in college football when we start to look at it, even from a sports betting gambling standpoint, even the stuff going on with Belichick and UNC, which kind of has almost died down a little bit, but I wouldn't say too much. So we'll catch up with Costco. We got a bunch of fighters coming on. We got a bunch of hoops players coming on as well. So we've got some really good guest list, and we'll kind of tweet everything out as well and post it on Facebook. Do we need a membership to listen to Costco? Costco, Nick Costco, not Costco, Kosko, as opposed to COTS. And by the way, I figured the corporation gets discounts everywhere. That's what I'm told. Let me see. Franchise in Delaware chimes in. Q, whatever happened to that one commenter? Did he get the ban yesterday? Oh, you're talking about Bunker Boys. No ban. We really haven't, there's got to be a protocol in place. There has to be a protocol in place. And we'll figure that out. Like I said, no one gets banned. We only did that once. That was many, many moons ago. And that was because, we're trying to feed steak to guys that were, eating burgers. The audience just wasn't having it. They just weren't. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. Melly Mel in Newcastle chimes in. Q, it seems as though this corporation that you speak of, are they paying listeners? Again, no checks have been cashed. No checks are cleared. Melly Mel. Mel does a good job on one of the hip hop stations in Wilmington. QC Communications. Appreciate him chiming in. JD from DC. Wow, DMV. Q, when do you think you're going to get our guy Lake Lewis back on? I know he is extremely high on Washington. He believes Daniels is going to take that next step. MVP caliber, deep run into the playoffs, and supplant the Eagles in the NFC East. Wow. You must be following Lloyd on X. Lake on X. We will definitely get Lake on. I know he's covering the Commanders and doing some stuff NFL-wise as well. So we'll try to grab him for a couple moments next week. Corporation loves 90s hip-hop. Hey, who doesn't? It's all freestyle. Remember, freestyle music. I was actually listening to freestyle music earlier today, getting that little workout in. Little Lisa Colt Jam. Little Stevie B, right? As opposed to the hip-hop. We call it freestyle. All right. Again, OKC, they close it out tonight against the Indiana Pacers. I don't even think the game's going to be close. Perhaps it's going to be the kiss of death, but I do like OKC by at least 10 to 12 in this one. SGA, MVP, here we go. Give me 35 and 10. Halliburton, he's going to be the topic of discussion tomorrow. If he goes and he struggles, we're going to kill him. If he doesn't go, we're going to kill him. It's like either way, it seems as though he's going to be the topic of conversation when we talk a little NBA. Fast approaching the 6 o'clock hour. Excellent job with the comments as always. And I appreciate Lloyd Vance jumping on board for a couple moments before we get out of here. As always, get social with me. And of course, our good friends over at Triax57 on Facebook, IG, and X. Log on to Triax57.com. You can follow me on IG and X at RichQ. TikTok, RichQ. On the mic, we'll post this on demand on Triax57 as well. We'll be live tomorrow from 4 to 6. Have a good sports Thursday. Enjoy a little late night in baseball. We will get into the NBA Finals tomorrow. A lot more NFL on a What the Frig Friday edition of Middays with Q. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.